The bronze brazier crackles in the corner of the sacred chamber, casting writhing shadows across the walls of mud brick and gold leaf. Smoke from burning cedar and myrrh coils upward, but beneath the holy incense lies another scent, metallic, sharp, unmistakable. Blood. A young woman's bare feet slap against the cold stone floor as she stumbles backward, her linen robe torn at the shoulder, dark stains spreading across the white fabric. The golden anklets gifted to her by the temple priests jingle with each desperate step, a mockery of their earlier promise of divine favor. "Please," she whispers to the towering figure advancing toward her, his ceremonial mask gleaming in the firelight. The face of Marduk himself, carved from obsidian and inlaid with lapis lazuli. The goddess. She spoke to me in dreams. She said I was chosen. The masked priest raises his ritual blade, its bronze surface reflecting the dancing flames. Behind him, 3 other figures emerge from the shadows, their faces hidden beneath similar masks, their movements synchronized like a deadly dance they have performed countless times before. The woman's back strikes the altar stone, carved with cuneiform prayers that promise salvation, but deliver only suffering. Her scream echoes through the ziggurat's sacred chambers, mixing with the evening prayers rising from the city below. But what drove these holy men to commit such unspeakable acts in the name of their gods? What ancient rituals demanded the torture of innocent women within the very walls meant to protect them? The great ziggurat of Babylon rises like a mountain of fired brick against the crimson sunset, its 7 terraces ascending toward the heavens where the gods dwell. Each level gleams with glazed tiles of blue and gold, depicting the sacred bulls of Marduk and the winged lions of Ishtar. The air thrums with the sound of bronze bells and the chanting of hundreds of priests, their voices weaving together in the ancient tongue that predates memory itself. Within the temple complex, the chosen women move like living goddesses through corridors lined with cedar wood from distant Lebanon. Their bare arms gleam with oils of frankincense and cassia, their dark hair adorned with golden fillets that catch the light of oil lamps burning in silver sconces. These are the Naditu, the consecrated ones, virgins pledged to the service of Ishtar, goddess of love and war. The ivory handle of his ceremonial dagger. His eyes follow a particular young woman, Tiamat Barney, barely 16, her skin unmarked by sun or sorrow. She was brought to the temple 3 moons ago by her father, a wealthy merchant who sought divine favor for his trading ventures along the Euphrates. "She pleases the goddess," he murmurs to his deputy, Shamash Nadin, whose scarred hands speak of rituals that require more than prayers and offerings. Her blood runs pure, untainted by the world beyond these walls. The women know nothing of the whispered conferences held in the inner sanctum after midnight, where ancient tablets are consulted by flickering lamplight. They do not see the bronze implements stored beneath the altar of Marduk, or hear the screams that sometimes drift from the sealed chambers deep within the ziggurat's foundations. Tonight, as every night for the past month, Tiamat Barney leads the evening procession through the temple courts, her voice sweet and clear as she sings the hymns to Ishtar. The other women follow, their feet bare against the cool stone, their movements graceful as temple dancers. They believe themselves blessed, chosen by the gods for a sacred purpose. The priests smile and nod their approval, their faces masks of benevolence in the lamplight. But their hands rest too long on the women's shoulders during blessings, and their eyes follow curves beneath the sheer linen with an intensity that has nothing to do with divine devotion. As the moon rises full and silver above Babylon, casting long shadows through the temple corridors, Nabu Ramani makes his decision. The ritual chamber has been prepared, the bronze braziers lit, the ancient implements blessed with oils and blood from previous ceremonies. Tonight, Tiamat Barney will learn what it truly means to serve the gods. The summons comes at the darkest hour, when even the temple cats have ceased their prowling, and the only sounds are the distant murmur of the Euphrates and the whisper of wind through palm fronds. Tiamat Barney wakes to find Shamash Nadin standing beside her sleeping mat, his face a mask of false reverence in the dim starlight filtering through the window lattice. "The goddess calls to you, blessed one," he whispers, his breath reeking of wine and something else, something metallic and corrupt. You have been chosen for the highest honor." Still drowsy with sleep, she rises, dialect so ancient that even the priests must consult cracked tablets to decipher their meaning. "Behold," Nabu-Rimani intones as she enters, his voice distorted by the obsidian mask that transforms his face into the terrifying visage of Marduk. "The sacred chamber of purification, where the chosen few commune directly with the divine essence." But Tiamat Barney's eyes fix not on the priest's imposing figure, but on the altar stone at the chamber's centre. Black basalt, worn smooth by centuries of use, its surface stained with substances that gleam wetly in the firelight. Bronze shackles hang from iron rings set into the stone, their metal worn bright by struggling wrists and ankles. Around the chamber's perimeter stand 4 other priests, their faces hidden behind masks representing the great gods: Enlil, god of air and storm; Ea, lord of the waters; Sin, the moon god; and Shamash, god of justice. Though what justice can be found in this place defies comprehension. I do not understand," Tiamat Barney stammers, her voice small and lost in the oppressive chamber. The sweet oils that adorned her skin now feel like chains, marking her as surely as if she were livestock prepared for slaughter. "The goddess demands sacrifice," Nabu-Rimani explains, his words echoing strangely behind the mask. "Not the simple offering of grain and wine, but the deeper communion, the surrender of flesh and blood and spirit to her divine will." He gestures to bronze implements arranged on a side table with ceremonial precision: curved knives with ivory handles, thin rods of metal that taper to needle points, and other devices whose purpose she cannot fathom, but whose malevolent intent radiates like heat from a forge. "The ancient tablets speak of rituals known only to the highest priests," he continues, advancing slowly as she backs toward the wall. "Sacred rites that transform mortal women into vessels worthy of the goddess's presence. The process requires dedication and endurance." The masked figures close in around her, their movements coordinated like wolves circling prey. She tries to scream, but terror has stolen her voice, leaving only a harsh whisper that dies against the impassive stone walls. "Your father paid handsomely for this honor," Shamash Nadin adds, producing leather straps from beneath his ceremonial robe. "Be silenced by stone and mortar. They seep upward like poison through cracks in the ancient masonry, reaching the sleeping quarters where other consecrated women wake, with cold sweat beading on their skin, their dreams fractured by sounds they cannot name, but instinctively fear." Tiamat Barney's cries grow hoarse as the ritual blade traces patterns across her flesh. Symbols sacred to Ishtar, carved with methodical precision, while the masked priests chant invocations to gods who seem to have turned their faces away. The bronze implements grow slick with blood that pools in the altar stone's worn channels, following grooves carved by countless previous victims. "The goddess accepts your offering," Nabu-Rimani intones, though his voice wavers now, uncertainty creeping through the ceremonial words. The rituals described in the ancient tablets promise divine revelation, but all he sees is a terrified girl whose life ebbs away in crimson streams. Hours pass. The oil lamps burn low, casting ever deeper shadows that seem to writhe with malevolent life. Tiamat Barney's struggles have ceased, her body limp against the restraints, her eyes staring sightlessly at the chamber's vaulted ceiling where smoke from the braziers has painted grotesque shapes in soot and ash. But the expected divine manifestation never comes. No goddess appears in a pillar of flame. No sacred visions illuminate the chamber. There is only death and the stench of spilled blood, and the growing realization that they have committed murder in the name of gods who demand justice, not sacrifice. Dawn breaks over Babylon as the priests emerge from the ritual chamber, their ceremonial robes stained beyond cleansing. They dispose of Tiamat Barney's body in the sacred well where temple refuse is thrown, telling themselves she has become one with the divine waters. But her ghost haunts their dreams, and her father's gold feels cold as winter in their hands. Word spreads through whispered conversations in the temple corridors. Other young women begin to disappear. Not all at once, but gradually, carefully. Their absence is explained as divine callings to serve the goddess in distant temples. The remaining Naditu grow pale and fearful, starting at shadows and weeping in their sleep. The city itself begins to sense the corruption, displeasure by interfering with religious ceremonies. But the gods, it seems, have already withdrawn their favour. Plagues of locusts devour the temple gardens. The sacred pools grow stagnant and rank, their blessed waters turning black as pitch. Cracks appear in the ziggurat's walls, spider-webbing upward from the foundations where screams still echo in the darkness. The remaining priests whisper of curses and divine retribution, but they cannot stop what they have started. The ancient tablets that promised divine communion through suffering have become their chains, binding them to rituals that grow more desperate and more brutal with each passing moon. As winter settles over Babylon, bringing unseasonable cold and darkness, 13 young women have vanished into the temple's hungry depths. Their families mourn them as lost to divine service, never knowing the truth of their daughter's fate. The great ziggurat of Babylon stands empty now, its glazed tiles cracked by frost and its golden ornaments tarnished black. King Nebuchadnezzar's soldiers sealed the entrances with royal decree after the final horror, when Nabu Rimani was found at dawn in the ritual chamber, his own ceremonial blade buried to the hilt in his chest, his obsidian mask shattered into 1,000 glittering fragments. Some say it was suicide, the weight of his crimes finally crushing his spirit. Others whisper of divine justice, claiming the goddess Ishtar herself appeared to exact vengeance for the innocents slaughtered in her name. The surviving priests speak of shadows that moved without bodies casting them, of screams that echoed from empty chambers, of bronze implements that grew red-hot without flame. But the deepest mystery remains locked within those sealed walls. Were the forbidden rituals genuine religious practices corrupted by human evil, or were they always nothing more than the delusions of madmen drunk on power and sacred authority? The ancient tablets that supposedly detailed these ceremonies have vanished, taken by fleeing priests or perhaps consumed by the very flames they once blessed. The families of the vanished women still light candles in their memory, still pray to gods who may have turned their faces away in horror. They will never know whether their daughters died as martyrs to divine will, or victims of human depravity, wrapped in sacred cloth. Babylon, most disturbing of all, if the gods truly existed, why did they remain silent for so long?